I'm Kellen Marion, and welcome to STEM to Share. In today's episode, I'm interviewing a park ranger from Mount Rainier National Park.
My name is Julie Gonzalez, and I am an education ranger at Mount Rainier National Park in Washington State.
What inspired you to get a job with the National Park Service?
I started off by doing internships, and this gave me the opportunity to explore what this career was about, and I realized that I really enjoyed teaching about science and talking to people about science in a way that's relevant to them. Um, and this is where I found my niche. I've always been someone who loves to share what they know. And one of the people that I was working with really inspired me to continue this career path outside of my internship. And so they looked at me and they said, "I think you have what it takes to be a park ranger." And I thought that was moving enough to want to continue to pursue this path. And I realized that not only does being a park ranger allow me to teach science in a place that's outdoors and hands-on like national parks, but it also gives me the opportunity to inspire others to also become park rangers. The National Park Service isn't a very diverse place. It doesn't necessarily represent the people of the United States. And so I was hoping that when people look at me, especially young kids who look like me, they say, if she's a park ranger, then I can do it too. So that's part of why I do what I do, and I try to do it well.
Can you please tell me a little bit about your educational background?
When I was a kid, I really enjoyed learning about math and science. And those were my strongest subjects in school that I really enjoyed going to. And when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to major in college, I knew that I really liked animals and learning about the different environments and ecosystems. And I enjoyed looking at different types of rocks. And so I wanted something that incorporated all of those things. And I found a major called environmental science, which is a very interdisciplinary degree where you're looking at plants and animals and their ecosystems and how rocks and the environment impacts them, and water, and then also the human component of how humans interact with the environment and impact things like climate change. So that's what I wanted. That's what I went to school for. I have a bachelor's in environmental science and geology from the University of Texas at Austin. And eventually I realized that I didn't really like doing research, and I didn't want to work for an environmental consulting firm or oil and gas. And so I found my niche in education instead. So learning about science and then teaching about it.
What do you find interesting about your job?
Part of my job is that I get to live in these beautiful places that people come to visit or are part of someone's vacation. But for me, it's my home. It's where I work, and I get to explore these places while I'm working and on my days off. So that's a really rewarding part. Also, you never know. The days are never the same, and you never know who you're going to meet. And because people are coming from all over the world, you meet some pretty interesting people who have some interesting stories that they share, and connections that you never knew you would make in a national park in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes is how it feels, but yeah, you just never know what to expect.
In general, what advice would you give to students?
Advice I would give to students who are interested in being a park ranger is finding a finding a subject that you really enjoy, something that you want to study and want to learn more about, whether that's science, history, technology, arts, drama, and and go to school, go to college, learn more about that skill, that subject, and you might find a job in the National Park Service that would allow you to do that thing that you really love learning about. Because the Park Service has a variety of different jobs. It's kind of like a little city where we have education rangers who act like teachers. Um, we have law enforcement officers, like police officers, who help ensure that people are safe and following the rules. We also have scientists who do research on wildlife and geology here in the park, and like accountants, people who do our budget, as well as engineers who are building and maintaining infrastructure like roads and buildings.
How do you spend your time at work?
My day is never the same. I am I'm constantly moving, doing different programs, and meeting with different people. A typical day would look like me coming into the office, checking my emails for 10 or 15 minutes, and then packing my backpack with props like furs, musical instruments, and pictures of animals or volcanoes and diagrams, and then hopping into a car and driving to a place where I'm going to meet the school bus, either a trailhead or the visitor center. And I usually wait for like 30 minutes. The bus is always late. And and once they get off the bus, uh, we go for a hike. We do a variety of activities with them. My favorite is making a musical volcanic eruption with our instruments, where each kid gets to play a part in the volcano, the volcanic eruption. And then we send the kids off in the bus. We unpack our bags and we plan for the next day.
What makes Mount Rainier special?
Mount Rainier is such a wonderful place. It's this majestic mountain that you can see from a wide distance. And if you're depending on where you are in Western Washington, you can often see this mountain. It's the tallest thing around, and people will. Oftentimes, the weather report is the mountain's out, and that's it. And you just know it's going to be a great day. So Mount Rainier, whether you've been to the mountain, you've hiked it, or you just see it from a distance, it's very much a part of the culture here in Western Washington. It's on our license plates, signs, and companies are named after this place. So it's part of the culture. It's integrated. So I really like that about Mount Rainier, is that you don't necessarily have to come to this place to have a connection to the mountain. If you do come here, though, you will see that it's a very biodiverse ecosystem where we have a forest life zone, subalpine life zone, and an alpine life zone where there's nothing but snow and rocks, and people travel from all over the world, and they can find different things to do here, whether it's hiking, taking pictures, viewing wildlife, or climbing the mountain itself. So it's a place where there's something for everyone, and you don't have to necessarily come here to be connected to. So that's what I like about it.
Can you tell me how pollution or global warming has affected the park?
We are seeing an impact in our park's ecosystems and the geology in our park due to climate change. So to give you an idea, the park is covered or the upper part of the mountain is covered in 25 glaciers. These glaciers are they're big bodies of snow and ice that are heavy enough to move, and they make their way down the mountain. And as the temperatures get hotter, the snow and ice of these glaciers starts to melt, and so those glaciers will recede or make their way back up the mountain. And what this does, it exposes all of that rock material that the glacier has moved while it was moving down the mountain. And so we get these giant boulders and loose rock material that's just exposed. And anytime that there's a huge flood or rainstorm, or even a heavy snow melt that year, that rock gets pushed down to the lower parts of the mountain. It follows the river valleys. And oftentimes, the other thing that follows the river valley are the roads. And so this rock material that is exposed and it flows down the river valley, then just creates destruction in its path. And it tears out the roads, the bridges, and other environmental areas around the river valley. And so that's one of the big issues, is that we have what we call glacial aggradation. So that rock that just piles on and piles on, and it impacts the infrastructure in the area, and we're constantly trying to repair these things. For our animals, one of the animals that we're seeing impacted here is the American pika. They're an animal that really likes cold weather. Their body temperature is really high. For humans, it's on average 98.5. For pikas, it's an average of 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So they're a really hot animal, and they need cool temperatures to maintain their body heat at a relatively low temperature. And if it's a hot day, so hotter than 70 degrees, the pikas can suffer from heat stress or a heat stroke and die. So if we see really hot days in the subalpine and the alpine, it is not a good day for those pika.
What kind of research projects are happening in the park?
So we're constantly doing research here in the park. There are scientists who come from all over the world, and we also have a team of scientists who are park rangers. They wear the same uniform as me, who work here. Some of the areas that they're doing research in includes geohazards, so geological hazards, like the one that we talked about. They're looking at things like mudslides, lahars, outburst floods, to try to either help the park mitigate, maybe build a road somewhere else, or reinforce the roads that are already there, and see what the likelihood of these things, these geological hazards, what the likelihood of these events to happen. We also have research happening with there's so many, the bat population here in the park. So one of the things that we are looking at is where the bats are located in the park. If they're located on buildings or trees, or more undisturbed areas, what kind of bats we have in the park. If we want to know what kind of species we have, and how many of those species. And one of the ways that they do that is they record the audio of the bats, and the different sounds that they send out for their echolocation can let scientists know what kind of bats we have here in the park. And we're also looking into whether or not these bats have been infected with the white nose syndrome, which has been a huge issue with the bat population on the East Coast. Luckily, we haven't seen any evidence of that happening here in the park, but we're constantly monitoring just in case.
What groups are doing research at the park?
There are a variety of colleges that come to the park. Some of the colleges include the University of Washington, or UW, located in Seattle. There's Evergreen College that comes out here and does research, as well as interns that participate from those colleges. We have the USGS, or the US Geological Survey, and they do a lot of volcano research here in the park. We're part of a greater network, the Cascade network here, where these geologists are monitoring the Cascade volcanoes to see how active they are and what the likelihood of them erupting would be. So these are the same people who are monitoring volcanoes like Mount St. Helens.
Why is it important to keep an eye on Mount Rainier?
It is currently an active volcano, and what we know from that we've got from geologists who have studied this area. And a big clue about that is that the rock here at Mount Rainier is igneous rock, so rock from melted rock, and it is laid out in layers. So with each eruption that has happened in the past, there's a new layer of rock that covers the layer that was there before. And so with each eruption, you get a new layer, and it gets taller and taller. This layer pattern is what has led to the name stratovolcano. So strato meaning layers. And so if you were to cut Mount Rainier in half, you'd be able to see those layers and be able to count how many times it has erupted through that, which is pretty neat. It's also why we're so tall. With each new layer of rock, we got a little bit taller, and we've gotten so tall that we're the tallest mountain here in Washington State, standing at 14,410 feet.
What programs does the park offer for students?
In the park, we have a variety of different internships that happen. A lot of them are for college students, but we also do trail crew programs specifically for high school students. So we partner with other people who provide trail crew experience for high schoolers, like the SEA, Northwest Youth Corps, Washington Trails Association. Those are all groups that bring high schoolers in for weeks at a time to the park, and they get the opportunity to help us take care of this place by creating a new trail, maybe building a bridge, clearing out some debris, and then they get to live in the park for that time and explore it.
What advice would you give to students?
I had to share advice with my high school self, or my middle school self, is to find the thing that you enjoy doing, and share that with other people, because that's a strength that you really need to be a park ranger, is to be able to not only care about a place, but also be able to share why that place is important with other people. We're constantly working with other people, so find opportunities that will give you the skills to be able to work in a team, do projects with other people, find skills that allow you to communicate what's important to you. Try to do as many clubs and organizations as you can, so that you can get that experience while you're young, and don't discount that experience. What you're doing right now is really important and is helping you grow, and you'll find that you'll be using that as you get older as well. I write a lot of emails, so learn how to do that as well.
Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and please follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Bye!